The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
Welcome back to the Secrets of Technology podcast. I'm Kim Commando, America's digital goddess, and I never miss an episode.
You're listening to the Secrets of Technology. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to the Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today on the panel are Father Andrew Kinstetter. Hey, Father Andrew.
Hello there.
And Pat Scott. Hey, Pat.
Hello.
Folks, I want to tell you about another show on the StarQuest Network you are sure to enjoy called The Secrets of Doctor Who. You can find that wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/Doctor Who. And I'm wearing my, you can't see it, of course, because we don't have a video for the show, but I'm wearing my Doctor Who t-shirt that I think, Pat, you got this for me for Christmas. So it's a very nice, it's got all the I think it's just all the modern doctors.
It's the new Who. Yep.
So new Who. All right. So let's get into tonight's topic, which is tech for studying and for students. And I wanted to specifically do this one tonight because Father Andrew, you've gotten back to school. You're back in college getting your canon law degree, and you've been there since September, presumably, studying. And so you've had to get back into studying and doing classes, and you've got a chance to check out all the new technology for studying and that sort of stuff, because it's been a few years since you were in seminary, right?
There was a 6-year break before when I was ordained and gone back. So yeah.
6 years is like an eternity with school.
But in tech time, it's a long time.
So I thought we could talk some about studying and, how to use our tech for studying, the best apps and maybe some hardware as well. And especially, like, you'd think we want to do this in like August, but I think now is a great time, especially as, say, high school seniors are preparing for college. They're starting to think about it. And over the next few months, they're going to be making decisions about hardware, software, and all those sorts of decisions you got to start to make. So now's a good time to start thinking about these things. So let's get into it right away. The first thing I want to talk about is I want to leave hardware till later, because hardware is a decision that may be not one that you can necessarily make for yourself. Like your school might have a recommendation, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I want to talk about some software. And the biggest thing you think about when being a student is note taking. Now, back in the day when I was in college, I was among the first students to use a computer in the class to take my notes. I had an old Mac PowerBook 520C. So that tells you how long ago that was. And, of course, at the time I had to, it was, if I wanted to take notes in class, it was all linear. I was typing into a Word doc, that was my classroom notes. But there's a lot more options now. Father, what do you do? Do you still do pen and paper or pencil paper, or do you use tech?
I can't use pen and paper. I could, but I don't write quick enough to keep up with what the professor's saying. So I definitely have been using my computer for even the last number of years in seminary. I remember the first few years in seminary, I did pencil and paper and thought that the technology would be too easy to be distracting. Because freshmen in college often, like, you had those major, like physics 101, and you see, all the people on solitaire on their computers. Like, right. I didn't want to be one of those students. But I realized that, and there's something about like using your physical hands to write out things that often it's a helpful way to remember things. But when it comes to just the amount of information that I wanted to keep up with, I type so much faster. So what I use is I kind of fell into the Microsoft Office suite. And I mean, because that's what I was using. That's what I used to write papers in high school. That's what I used to do anything, PowerPoint in high school. And so I just kind of kept going with that. But I discovered OneNote, which is part of the Microsoft Office suite. And OneNote has been absolutely my favorite app for note taking. And I know Dom and Pat, you might have other recommendations here, but this is my personal favorite. I'm pretty sure that there's an iOS app if you want to take notes on your iPad.
I'm pretty sure. I
don't have an iPad. I have a MacBook, but it's also a Windows thing as well. So it works on all the systems. But it works like you'd think it would. You can create a notebook, and you can have different sections for your different classes, and then within each class you can have different notes for the different individual days. Or you could just have one big long note for the entire class if you want. When I was at the School of Mines doing math, I could use a stylus and write out like math equations and could draw with a stylus. And it was really easy to use. Currently I'm just typing words. So I'm just using the typing functionality, but it syncs with OneDrive. So I can, if I'm out and about and I want to pull up my notes on my phone, I can, which is great. If I'm, got a long drive or a plane ride somewhere and I needed to pull up my notes to read them and I don't have my computer with me, I can do that. You can edit them on your phone or on your tablet. And yeah, I usually like full screen it and kind of just make it my environment for note taking. So
that's really
and then of course
cool.
It keeps them from all the years. Like I can pull up my seminary notes within the same app, and they're all there.
Wow, that's awesome. See, when I was back in school, before I did the Microsoft Office, I used the Franklin Day Planner to take my notes. So it was by hand, but I have short stubby fingers and I get hand cramps really easy. I hated that. Yeah. But one of the things I've done, and I do this for when I'm in meetings, and if I were in taking classes, I'd be doing the same thing, is I use an app on my iPad called GoodNotes. And I love to use it with the Apple Pencil. And for some reason, I find it is a lot easier than handwriting on paper with a pencil or pen. And one of the problems I encountered when trying to take notes with Microsoft Word was when I wanted to do things that were nonlinear, like connect things and, jump back and write arrows and stuff. And so with a stylus, you can do that. I like that OneNote. If you're using the right kind of hardware, you could use a stylus as well. One of the things that GoodNotes really touts is visual note taking. And if you go to their site, they have lots of examples of visual note taking. And I'm not an artist. I'm not a visual person like that. But if you're a person who thinks visually, it's really great for, making boxes and drawing things. And if that's what helps you remember the content and process it, this would be a great way of doing it. So these are several different options. Pat, did you have any ideas in this area?
Well, I haven't been using anything recently, but I've encountered a couple of clients who were telling me that they use something called Obsidian, and I understand that you may already know about this, but this was new to me. Okay. And so I just basically downloaded it recently and started playing with it. Before that, I had used Evernote constantly. Evernote's gotten very expensive. Yeah. And so I was looking for an alternative, and it looks so much like Evernote in the way it lays things out. And I didn't care for OneNote as much. I tried it for a while and I abandoned it. Yeah. But, where I use it for is taking clips off of websites and jotting down references and stuff like that. So yeah. Those are the three I've used is OneNote, Evernote, and then starting to use Obsidian.
Yeah, Obsidian is more text files. We could talk more about that later. I know you want to talk about that in a little bit. We can talk about that a little more in depth. But for Evernote, I famously have been an Evernote user for, a dozen years, more, even maybe up to 15 years now. And I've decided to switch from Evernote. Evernote, I use it two different ways. One, to keep text notes. Now I'm using Obsidian for that. but the other one is to preserve documentation or files or clippings off the internet or anything like that. And so for research purposes, I would say a great one to consider is an app called DevonThink, which allows you to, it also works sort of like Obsidian, which is it doesn't use, Evernote sucks things into its proprietary database and it's all contained inside. DevonThink is basically links to files on your hard drive. So even if DevonThink goes away, the files are still there on your hard drive in folders. So that's one thing I like about it. And what DevonThink lets you do is categorize things and use some automation to move things around in the app so that it knows, like, when something shows up in the inbox and it has these words in the file or whatever, move it here, tag it with this. And so it's a real great organizer for information. So I've decided to move away from Evernote myself because it has gotten so expensive and feels like they're moving the product away from what I have used it for so long. So that's one reason I'm doing that. I want to talk about another iPad app. So GoodNotes is an iPad app. It's also available on the Mac. It's not as great for taking notes on the Mac, but it's great for studying and reading your notes and that sort of stuff. But another iPad app I want to mention is something called the Liquid Text. And this is great for another great research app. This is great for PDFs. This is a PDF viewer. And what really makes this great is the ability to, when you're looking through a long PDF, like a book or a long paper or a research paper, you can do things like squeeze the the PDF down and bring two separate sections of the PDF together, or look at different sections side by side and annotate and take notes and do all kinds of great stuff. I knew a lawyer who used it to annotate contracts when he was negotiating with other lawyers and that sort of thing. It's a really useful PDF note-taking, viewing, and research app on the iPad. So those are a couple that I like. Father, you mentioned Microsoft Office as a great Office suite with Word, PowerPoint, OneNote.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Excel.
get the Excel, of course. If you're in the more scientific, your math related areas, Excel would be great, or business. If you get the PC version of that, you also get the database.
Oh, Access.
Right. So
and on a PC you also get Publisher.
Right.
Oh,
right.
and Publisher's good too.
Yeah.
Outlook, Microsoft Outlook is also a really, I think I use it for my email.
Okay.
Yeah, there's pros and cons on that.
Yeah. I don't use it for my personal email. I use it for the school email because I've got a school email and I've got work email through the diocese and I've got a personal email.
If your email server is a Microsoft Exchange server, that's especially a good one to choose. Yeah.
Yep. Which, the one through the diocese is definitely that way. A couple things that I did want to mention about Microsoft Office, especially for those of you who are looking at going to college this fall. Often you can get Microsoft Office through the college, either for free or discounted. So
heavily discounted. Yeah.
Yeah. So don't just go out and buy it because we're saying it's good. Look at the college first. Because often, like Word is kind of I don't know if I'd call it the golden standard, but it's the ordinary way in which people will write research papers. And in fact, to do footnotes and stuff, it's super easy and Microsoft just handles it all. You just push a button, put in page numbers, those sorts of things. PowerPoint also is good. I actually just created one of those and presented it in class about a month ago. One of the cool things about PowerPoint that I like, and this goes for PowerPoint, but it also goes for Keynote on the Mac, and I'm assuming it would happen with the Google equivalent, but I've not tried it with the Google equivalent. But if you're presenting, it'll recognize that your computer screen is different than the projector screen, and on your computer screen it will show your next slide that's going to come, and the current time in which you're PowerPoint presentation has been happening. So if you're like, practicing at home, you can time yourself, or during the presentation, you can see what's coming up and how long you've been talking and the notes that are attached to it. So it's improved dramatically since I was in high school. Let's just say
PowerPoint's, and in fact, it's improved dramatically since Keynote's been around, which I think they've taken a little bit of inspiration from Keynote, and which is great, because sometimes in the past I've had to do presentations and I was required to use PowerPoint because of equipment issues, and PowerPoint was better than it had been. Let's put it that way. And so that's Office. If you've got a Mac, you've automatically got the iWork suite, which is Pages, the equivalent to Word. It's also the equivalent to Publisher because it does layout as well. You've got Numbers, which is equivalent to Excel, although Excel is still much better than Numbers. I mean, I like Numbers. I use it for a lot of things. I use Numbers to do StarQuest's annual report, to do the charts for that, and I lay it out in Pages, which makes it real easy. They work together that way. But Excel is a better spreadsheet. Just I'll throw it out there. But Keynote, I love Keynote. And even beyond making presentations, Keynote makes great videos. If you ever need to make a sort of a visual video presentation, like something you're going to post online or that's self-contained, because of the animation tools that are in it, it's really awesome. Like the magic move in that is like magic. It is, you just say, between these slides, go from here to there, and it moves the stuff around, and it just looks so professional, so clean. I mean, I love Keynote. I really do. Probably inordinately so.
Are you able to do a presentation and save it as a video file?
Yes. Yep, you can export it as a video. Awesome. Yep, and you can even export to PowerPoint if you had to. You do lose the Keynote specific features, but it's possible. Sometimes you need to do that. You can also output, and PowerPoint does this too. You can output your slides as printouts for people if you need to share your slides. So that's really good too. So if you've got a Mac and the great thing about that is those come with the Mac, those are free. So, and they've come a long way.
The Mac is expensive, but
yeah, a little bit.
A Windows PC is much more affordable. But
there are cheap Windows PCs, but to get a decent one, you're in the ballpark. You really are. So yeah. And then this, so we talk about the Mac OS iWork, we talk about Microsoft Office, and then there's Google, the Google apps.
Mm-hmm.
And those are great for working together with other people, collaboration. In fact, we are using a Google Doc right now for our show notes. This is how we do our show notes is we have a Google Doc, and we each put in the different things we're going to talk about and the stuff and then we look at it as we go, and you can edit it as we go. And it has become like, again, I use the word magic, but it's come like magic. It used to be so hard to have these collaborative documents, but now it's seamless, and the changes are instant.
Yeah, Google Docs is fantastic when it comes to those of you who may or may not be like me, and you study for your finals last minute, and you collaborate with your peers. It's super handy because like you can add everybody to the same Google document and throw all the information on there, and you can correct and edit your peers, or they can do it to you, or you can see what someone is doing in real time. So you could be typing something and you're seeing it, or they're seeing it as you're typing it too. Right. So it's definitely helpful in that realm of study and collaboration,
right?
Especially as you're studying for tests and whatnot.
So the next one that I don't have a lot of experience with, because a lot of this stuff has built-in spell checker, grammar checker, but Grammarly I've heard of, but I haven't used myself. Father, did you put that one in there?
I think that must be Pat, because I tend to I use the built-in word check, and my grammar is usually pretty well, and I probably should use Grammarly a little more, but I've actually never used it.
Well, I've used it a little bit, and I liked what it did for things that if I was writing something in a hurry, then it would really go back. And it does spell check as well, but the grammar of which word you used or in which sense or it does a lot of that really well. And I know I have several people that couldn't live without Grammarly because they just are not English majors. They just don't know some of the techniques that you need to do to keep it looking professional. And the only, there's a free version that most people use, but occasionally if I found that it may slow down a computer a little bit, or the browser a little bit if it's in use. But for the people who use it, they really, really like it. And I have a lot of clients who use it.
So apparently not only does it get a grammar checker, but it can also have a plagiarism checker to make sure you're not accidentally plagiarizing.
Yeah, I had understood that they just added a lot of AI features to the thing to be able to do that.
Wow. A citation generator, because citations are pain.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. Yes.
An essay checker, a paraphrasing tool, a tone detector, a style guide. I actually misspoke. I actually do use Grammarly, but only inside the Hootsuite app. Now, Hootsuite is a social media platform. It's a professional platform. I use it for StarQuest and all our social media. And so when I'm writing social media posts in Hootsuite, the grammar checker pops up and says, oh, you could, the tone of this is helpful. The tone is happy or whatever. And then it also suggests rephrasings of things, which I usually say no, because I like the way I phrase things, but I've been writing for a long time. I know how I want to phrase things, but in general, though, it's a nice idea to have this, especially some of those AI level things about helping you with things like accidental plagiarism or wording of an essay and that sort of thing. So I like the idea.
Well, and, when we're talking about students, they don't have the life experiences that we've had. So I think it's a really good training tool to let them say, oh, hey, that was really a passive voice, or, hey, that's a little sarcastic, or whatever. Whereas as we get older, we've developed our own style and we know what's appropriate for whatever level of audience that we're dealing with. So I think that really would be a help to students more than just the average person.
There is a free level where it gets you grammar, spelling, punctuation, conciseness, and tone detection. And then there's a premium level, $12 a month, which adds full sentence rewrites and word choice and citations. And that one they say is $12 a month for individual. Although I would look around and see if there's a student discount. Again, with all these things, look for student discounts. And then there's a business level, which adds all the features, including style guide and analytics and some more stuff that maybe you don't, I think most people might not need, but that's $15 a month. So it's only a few extra dollars a month for that too. So maybe, it might be worthwhile. It might be worth we spend, and students are spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars for one textbook. This is maybe the equivalent of one textbook and maybe means you get better grades overall. So,
well, I was thinking of the student in science who's not a natural lingual person, and that would really be of a great deal of help, so that when they're doing a presentation or when they're doing something like that, that it does come across more professional because that's not their native style.
Yeah.
Or the person who English isn't their first language.
You're right. Exactly.
The other low tech help here would be often at most every single college their library often will have tutors or people on staff who would be more than happy to proofread a paper. I know I keep getting emails from our library that are offering those exact services. So
that's good.
A low tech way to do it is to go to your library and get some one-on-one tutor help as well.
Yeah. A lot of colleges will have writing centers that are just for this purpose. So lots of writing going on in colleges. So another important thing for a student is to keep track of dates and times and tasks and papers when they're due and assignments and all that sort of thing. And there's lots of apps to help with this. So would you guys, pick some of your favorites? Father, what do you use?
I feel bad. I don't use a assignment tracker. The way that my brain works is that I keep it all up in my head. If there's anything major, I will actually just put it into my calendar app.
I was going to say the calendar is a good tool for a lot of that.
Yeah.
Right.
But when it comes to, I sort of just kind of keep in my mind, like, okay, I've got, in a couple weeks, I have this paper that I have to do, or, I know that April is I've got to do this assignment, or, it may not be the best, but thankfully I have yet to miss an assignment because of that. So at least that's the way that my brain works. I know there's plenty of tech help though, for those of you who need it. And
for every student, every major, every school will be different too. Like some majors you're going to need to keep, track.
Mine is mostly just reading. There's the homework assignments are fewer and far between. There might be a paper here. Like this semester I had 2 papers, and I just knew that the first one I had to do in the first half of the semester, and the second one I did in the second half of the semester.
Right. It'll be different at that graduate level. You're going for basically a doctorate in canon law. So
I used to, like in high school, you got the physical student assignment book.
The assignment book. Yeah.
And I for about the first 2 weeks, I would diligently write down the assignments and check them off when I finished them. And it just got way too tedious. I just did the assignment and called it good.
The key is to do what works for you. So that's good.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, I have, for my work and my personal life, I use OmniFocus, which is a huge, powerful, and overpowered for most people project and task manager. I've been using it for a decade or more than a decade, and I love it. It's a wonderful piece of software, but it's overkill for most people. So for a lot of people, your built-in reminders apps will be good. I know Mac OS and iOS have the supplied reminders app. I would assume Outlook has reminders built in as well for people on Windows. Yeah. Yep. And then, I guess, Pat, you must have put this in there, the Do app.
Right. I bounce back and forth depending upon what type of task I'm needing to keep track of between Do and reminders. Reminders are those things that is kind of a list of things I need to make sure that I get done at some point. The Do is the one that I put stuff in there that I need to be nagged or else I'll forget it.
It needs to be done now. Right.
Or, basically it just keeps reminding you until you, and it can do a reminder on a frequency basis. But now I also have clients that are just sold on Todoist. And I don't use it myself, but I only wanted to bring it up just because I have so many people that think that that's one of the best possible to-do managers out there.
Yeah.
So
I've tried Todoist before just to see. I'm not going to be leaving OmniFocus anytime soon, but it's a different paradigm than OmniFocus, and that's fine, which is great because some people have different ways of looking at things. And Todoist is attractive and it looks really great. And it's a very interesting program to use. There's another one on the Mac called Things, which I think is also looks pretty good. I use Do in addition to OmniFocus. Do for me is for things that have to be done, like take my medicine. I have morning meds and evening meds, and that thing will nag me until I've told it I've taken my morning meds. I like to, I keep a diary, like a personal journal, and I want to make sure I do that every morning. And so I have it nag me at 8:55 every morning, take 5 minutes. And if right now is not a good time, like you said, Pat, it'll remind me again in 5 minutes, and then another 5 minutes. Or like I'm at the doctor's office, I can't do it. Snooze for an hour, and it will come back in an hour. So yeah, Do is a wonderful app.
If I can, this is an excursus into not so much tech things, but more philosophy of just these kind of things, if it's helpful. When it comes to assignments and those things that are due, sometimes, especially if you're a freshman in college, it can become really overwhelming and you kind of don't know what to do. Visualize a 4x4 square. So take a square and divide it into 4 quadrants. And along the top, you've got unimportant and important. And then along the side, it's urgent and not urgent. And so you've got 4 categories of either assignments or what you've got going. And, so you throw things into if it's important but not urgent, or important but urgent, or urgent but not important, or not important and not urgent, I think.
Yeah, that kind of covers it.
But the key would be is like, if I've got 5 assignments, one of them is due tomorrow and one of them is due next week, and then the rest are due later on, put the ones that are due tomorrow and next week in the urgent and important, the ones that are due later, important but not urgent. And it's a conceptual way to kind of like help you visualize like what you have to do and when, and kind of just categorize things in a way that hopefully you feel less overwhelmed, because it's like, okay, I'll focus on the urgent and important, and then I'll focus on what's important but not urgent, and and then go to the lesser important, the less urgent.
Sometimes this is called the Eisenhower matrix, after Dwight D. Eisenhower is supposedly the originator, or at least popularizer of it. There is an app that works across platform, iPad,
perfect.
Windows, macOS, called Priority Matrix. I'll put that in the show notes, and you could check that out as well. Yeah, I've seen this recommended. I've seen people that this is how they think, and this is what works for them.
I think that's what I just do naturally is I categorize it that way. And so I'm like I know the important paper is urgent and important for this weekend. But I don't break it out like that. It just, that's how my mind works. And I think that's how a lot of people, if you need some help, this is a way to kind of conceptually help you break some of that down.
As part of my daily journaling, one of the things I do is I have a prompt, and the first prompt is, what are the top 3 things I need to do today? And then which is the one priority, like the one thing that I must do today? And, you often have, most of us have, many more than 3 things to do today, but this is a way of really kind of doing this same thing, just not in the matrix way, but narrowing things down. I think I heard Father Roderick von Hogan, my friend Father Roderick, one of the founders of StarQuest. He calls it, based on a book he read, eating your frog. What's the frog I have to eat today? Eating a frog is a terrible thing. But you have to, like, if you had to do it,
yeah.
you just got to sit down and do it, And yeah. So I don't like that visualization, so I just like my priorities. It's a great way of helping you prioritize, and because you can only have one priority. There's only one thing that is the most important thing, and so
right, you're not going to be able to do everything every day, and then some people can then just feel so incredibly discouraged at the end of the day that they didn't get anything done, and it sort of just it hampers them from really succeeding. And okay, that's okay that you didn't get everything done. Just if you do get your
if you get
the
the
most
one,
important, the priority, yeah.
If you get that one done, you're gonna feel good. If you get more than one or two of the other 2, 3 things of the 3 things, you're gonna feel great. You've accomplished things. You can check it off tomorrow. So yeah, I think that's a great way of looking at it. So before we get into hardware, one last software related thing, which is also kind of hardware related. So this will be our transition, which is backup. You want to make sure you've backed up your files all the time. And there are multiple ways. And I always say you have to have it backed up. Where else it goes? 3 places, 2 different forms of media, 1 offsite. Okay, so at least those things. So if a file doesn't exist in at least 3 places, or it used to be 2, but now I say 3 places, it doesn't exist. So you want it to be backed up in 3 places, 2 different kind of media, 1 of them offsite. 3, 2, 1. So the basic is you could store files if you have a Mac or iOS, you can store files in iCloud. If you have Windows or Mac, because I have the 2. OneDrive is a great storage medium. Dropbox is another one. Now,
Google Drive,
yes. Now, to be clear, these are technically not backups. They are cloud storage because you're
synchronized copy.
Yes, you're usually actively working on these, and if you delete the file or you mess it up, you're unlikely to be able to recover it from that place.
There are some. I think doesn't Dropbox allow?
They have a version.
Yeah, there's some versioning. Yeah,
Yes.
You can have different versions of the same file that are kept in.
Saved my bacon many times.
But that's not the primary thing that those services are about. Unlike, like, say, Time Machine, which is
a backup.
Mac.
Yes.
Yep.
Now, as far as like Dropbox, I work out of Dropbox. I all of my active work files are in Dropbox. A few are in iCloud files for specific reasons, which I might get into later. But I work out of Dropbox, and So let's talk about like Time Machine. If you're a Mac user, Time Machine is a gimme. You just hook a external hard drive into your Mac, and it will. If you don't already have a Time Machine drive, it will ask you, do you want to make this a Time Machine drive? And Time Machine is a versioning system in a sense. It allows you to take a particular file or folder back in time to when it was last backed up or last available. So that's really nice. There's also cloning. On the Mac, I like Carbon Copy Cloner. There's also another program called Super Duper. Pat, is there a Windows cloning or backup software you recommend?
Well, I was going to start with the versioning backup is the same as file history on a PC, which is built into Windows, and file history works really well. And you can revert back to older versions as long as you've got the storage space on the external drive. As far as cloning, there's some free software out there. It's nothing really built into Windows, but there's some free software by ESUS, and all of a sudden I just forgot the other one. Anyway, there's a couple of different Macrium. Yeah. Macrium and ESUS both let you make a clone of a drive.
Okay. We'll try to get those in the show notes afterward. Okay, good. And then for offsite backup, Carbonite is one. I really like Backblaze. That is, so you install the software on your computer and it just automatically keeps everything backed up in the cloud. Now, the first time you install it, it backs up your entire drive, and that takes a long time and a lot of data. So you're going to want to leave, if you have a laptop, you're going to want to leave that laptop active and on and connected as much as possible until it completes the first backup. And it can be days. Depending on the speed of your internet. Yeah, if you have a slow upload on your internet connection, it could be weeks. So, but once that's done, then after that, it's just going to be updating the what's in the cloud with any changes you make, and it's relatively easily done. But once it's done, it's in the cloud, which means it's much safer. It's also a little harder to get it back. So that's why you have these three separate backup systems, the three separate backups. You want stuff that's local, but that's more volatile. But the stuff that's far away in the cloud is safer, but it's harder to get at. So you're balancing things out.
On the PC, Carbonite is for most of my customers what I recommend. It's a subscription service. You pay for it. And on Carbonite, you pay once per machine, and it backs up everything on there. That's the data, not applications, but anything that's data. I do not recommend Carbonite on the Mac, because on the Mac, it does not do versioning. On the PC, it does. On the Mac, it still does not, at least the last time I checked. And then for the PC and for the Mac, iDrive is a good solution if you have multiple machines, because iDrive, you are basically paying for so much storage, and you can have several machines that are sharing that storage plan. And so that's a very attractive thing for that. It's Mac and PC. And I don't know about Linux, but most of us students aren't going to be using Linux anyway, probably. But then there's other ones, yes. Other backup systems that you can use. I mean, Norton's got one, and different places have their own cloud backup. I still prefer not to bundle the backups and password managers and things like that in with a one security solution. I prefer to have the best of breed on each thing.
Right. We didn't mention it, but a password manager, we're always talking about that. Have a good password manager and have good passwords, especially in a college environment where you're carrying a laptop and a phone around and they can be misplaced or other people could have access to it. Definitely, good password manager.
Don't share passwords.
Don't share passwords.
And good security software, antivirus, that sort of thing too.
Malware. Yes, definitely. So let's talk a little bit about hardware. So the type of hardware you use sometimes can be determined by the school. The school will either say, for your major, you need to have this kind of computer, or they might say, we offer super discounts on these 3 different things, these 3 different laptops or whatever, a Mac, a Windows, that sort of thing, or desktop, whatever, or iPads. Well, sometimes they'll offer. So some of that might be determined by the school you're attending. And
the program that you're in, because I've seen some that say if you're in this particular class, you must have X or Y, and that's the only things you can have.
Right. Because, Father, I think you said in computer science you needed something specific.
Yeah, it was sort of both and. At the time, I don't know if they're still doing it, but when I went to the South Dakota School of Mines, they had everybody use a tablet PC. It didn't matter what major you were in, and it was part of your tuition. So you leased the computer, and then after 3 years, you had to give it back and then get a new one. So you didn't actually own the computer. You could buy it out, I think, at the end of 3 years if you wanted, but like everybody got a tablet PC, and I can't remember even the rationale behind it, but well, I think the rationale behind it was they then put their software on the computer for you, because like everybody was taking this, you're all in it. Well, most people were engineers, so you're taking upper level math courses, and so they had this program called Maple that would do think of your most advanced calculator, but throw it into a computer, and you can visualize the graphing capabilities and stuff that a calculator can't. So they were able to put all of their software on the computer. Then we didn't have to buy the software individually. So they required that. And then, of course, with computer science, they provided the emulators so we could work in Linux and whatnot. I think other colleges probably it's probably more generic that like as long as you have a good word processor or the standard kind of things, you're okay. And most colleges, Windows and Mac it's kind of up to you.
There have been clients, though, that I had kids that were going into some statistics or some classes that would take modeling that they would have to do, or GIS services or things like that required X types of graphics cards and X amount of memory, and a i7 or higher processor, So you do have to check with your college program also.
Some of the engineering colleges, like you would need, AutoCAD, the computer aided design programs that would need those higher processing power.
But you'll know if that comes up.
The college will tell you if you need a certain requirement.
Right. For most students, especially in humanities or other places, courses like that, if you want a Mac, this is from my experience, any of the new M1, M2 MacBook Airs will cover you. Like if you need a MacBook Pro as a student, you'll know it. Like you'll be told, like we said, you need this higher power. These Apple Silicon MacBook Airs are super powerful.
They're great.
I have a MacBook Air that I do audio editing and video editing on when I'm not at my desktop. I mean, it's remarkable. The only problem there is just the screen is small. I would like a bigger screen. But as far as power goes, these are super powerful. So, you don't need to spend super amount to get a really powerful machine that's going to last you a while if you get a MacBook Air. Windows laptops, there's a lot of the name brands, like Acer and Dell, and those. I would assume, you probably do pretty well with those. The Lenovo's and that. You back me up. I would probably tend to stay away from the really inexpensive Windows laptops.
Stay away from those. Right. My recommendation would be Dell or there are some people that use HP, but the Microsoft Surface, they make, some laptops themselves, and they seem to be geared towards students a lot of times with pricing. So, I would stay away from the less expensive and the ones that are foreign made and foreign serviced, because that can be a problem. You have a problem, you can't get parts for it.
Right, exactly.
The other nice thing about the Surface is they're kind of built so you can use a stylus and take notes with a stylus,
and or use a keyboard when you want to.
Yep,
right.
Yep. Like, and when I was in math, the stylus was, I used it exclusively for notes.
Well, and there are a lot of the manufacturers, Dell and Lenovo and all, that have the convertibles, that basically you just turn it over and now you've got the stylus and the pad, you turn it back the other way and now you got a traditional laptop with a keyboard.
Yep.
I would say if you decide to try the iPad route, if you like that idea of having the tablet as your primary device, or at least for note taking or whatever in class, I'd go for an iPad Pro, maybe the smaller one, which is more portable, and get the keyboard. The keyboards are really nice. I actually don't use the Apple keyboard. I have a nice Logitech smart keyboard, which is really nice. And I like the smart keyboard because it's powered from the iPad, and you're not dealing with Bluetooth and separately charging the thing. There's that lag with Bluetooth that annoys me. I would rather have that smart keyboard. It's just one less annoyance. But I would look at that if you want to go the iPad route.
I would say the iPad would probably work great for note taking. I would not recommend it from experience for trying to write papers.
It's more consumable as opposed to a creating device.
Yeah. The laptop will have more capability. Well, the iPad would have the same capabilities. It's just more cumbersome to get to some of the tools.
It is. Yeah, it is not nearly as slick as a laptop or desktop is yet. So what? One last bit of hardware I wanted to talk about is headphones. Everybody's got headphones on campus, especially when you're living in a dorm and around other people. And headphones with noise canceling or suppression are great. My kids all have the Soundcore Anchor Life Q20. Not all of them yet, but they'll eventually get there once they break the old ones, because that's what they do every 2 years is they break their headphones. But the hybrid active noise canceling headphones, they're $60 on Amazon, so really inexpensive for noise canceling. And when my daughter, who has misophonia, put these on for the first time, she was like, "Oh, it's quiet." And so
I don't pair people chewing.
Yes, exactly. She still hears herself chewing, which can bother her, but she doesn't hear other people. And that's really awesome. If you want something a little more expensive, I love the AirPods Pro. Their sound counts. In fact, I let my wife try the AirPods Pro with the noise canceling, mine, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, like this is so awesome." Like in the kitchen while she was making dinner or something. It's like, I want a set. So she got some for her birthday. But
good.
But those are, I think, for AirPods Pro are the fancy, trendy ones that are a little more expensive. The Soundcore Anchor Life Q20s are less expensive, and if you lose them, you're out $60 as opposed to a couple hundred. So
yeah.
Yep. So I think that's should do it for this time. I mean, there's always more to say, and if people have specific questions, we'd be happy to take them and bring it up in a later episode. And if you have suggestions as well, we'd love to hear from you. Father?
One more quick thing that I want to add, just especially those of you going to college, be sure to also look at the college website for discount on software beyond what is required, because often you can find discounts, student discounts through the college for a ton of different things. For example, since I'm a student again, I was able to get $10 off my cell phone bill every month because I'm a student. And it was all because of through the college website. And so just be sure to scour your college's website for those, even just Google your college website and student software discounts, and most colleges you log in with your student account, and then they give you all sorts of links to software that you can get for a discounted price.
And if you're buying Apple hardware, go to the Apple website, go all the way to the bottom of the main page, and look for Apple Education Store, because then you get significant discounts on the hardware through that too. You won't pay full price on it. Excellent.
And also just try to get student discounts on all sorts of places. I mean, even restaurants sometimes will do student discounts. So, I mean, and enjoy being a student. That's what I'm doing for these years.
Enjoy being a student, but not too much.
Yes.
All right. Before we move on to our headlines, I want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Tech, including Charles J., Father Jeff H., Mary B., Zipporah T., and Tim S. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Technology and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. I'm going to remind everyone, it is mid-April here in the United States. That means it's IRS tax time, and StarQuest is a 501c3. Your donations are tax deductible. All right, let's talk about some headlines. Talk about backing up. We're talking about backing up all the way into space. That's right. This first headline, this Florida startup is moving closer to building data centers on the moon. Yes, a moon data center. So the
talk about remote backup.
That is the ultimate
cloud storage.
That is the ultimate road. That's like nebula storage. So what this company's idea is, I think it's twofold, basically. One, you want to have things safe from disaster, right? Natural disaster. Is there any place on this earth that is safe from natural disaster? There's tornadoes and hurricanes and volcanoes and whatever. Okay. So let's back up on the moon. Okay. Now that's one part of it. So we back up our data to the moon. The other part of it is, as more and more gets built on the moon, more and more industry, commercial, government, they're going to need data services. And so they're looking to provide data services on the moon to these entities that will be there. So we're looking ahead to the near future. So they're sending their first test data center to the moon, which will be a 16 terabyte, 2-pound lander that will land and run for, I think they said between 11 and 14 days. And that will be their first test. And it's just the first of what might be many data centers. What do you guys think of this story?
It was different. I kept thinking that, if something happened to the Earth and we couldn't get our data back, do we really need the moon? I think we got more problems than we know about. But I can see for the future, where you might have towns or work centers or whatever on the moon, you might need to have the data there too.
Yeah, I think it's weird being in this sort of pre-science fiction era of, like, we're talking about this, or even just the talk of going to Mars and whatnot. It's not really going to be a viable thing until we can go to the moon and back in and have it be the cost of a commercial airline, and so it's, at this point, it's still way too science fiction, I think, than reality. But we've got to start somewhere.
We're on the verge of it. That's what's exciting. We're on the edge of science fiction becoming science. So really interesting.
Their cooling costs are going to be nice and low, though.
Well, that's the thing I was going to say. It's like, that's one of the problems with data centers on Earth is they are massively, using up energy for cooling and power and all that sort of stuff. And on the moon, you can have all the cooling you want because it's near zero, near absolute zero.
Free.
Yeah, but also you've got solar, and you could run nuclear. Like, there are small. In space, you can run nuclear reactors that you can't on Earth.
But we'll also have to just get better at data transmission too, because it might be a good place for a backup. But if you're going to be wanting simultaneous kind of, I want to work on something that's on the moon.
Yeah, that won't work.
I think that's the idea, is rather than having to work, like if you're on the moon trying to access data on Earth, you've got the data in two places synchronized. And so it synchronizes slowly between them, right. But your working copy is local. And that would be pretty cool. All right. So then our next headline is a TikTok headline. And the headline is, "Sorry kids, TikTok sets 1 hour screen limit. time limit for users under 18. So if you're under 18 soon, quote unquote, they don't have any timeline on this, it will run. You'll be able to use it for an hour, and then when the hour's up, it will pop up a screen, and you'll have to enter your a passcode to continue. Unless you're under 13, in which case a parent or guardian has to set up the passcode. You have to get your parents' permission. What do you think? Is this a real useful feature or just a PR attempt?
Kids they're not gonna care. they live on TikTok if I understand some of them correctly.
Yeah.
I mean, only the ones who really want to limit themselves are gonna take advantage of it.
Yeah, that's been my take. Is it's a bit of a, with all this talk of banning TikTok, part of that is because of the detrimental effect it's having on kids. All of this stuff is. I was talking to a mom today. I had a dental appointment today. I was talking to the hygienist, and she was talking about the battle for her to keep her son busy so that he's not sitting indoors on his phone or PlayStation or whatever it is, his game console, all day long. And so she has him scheduled to go from one sport to scouting to another sport, and all in an effort to keep him from being completely absorbed in this stuff. And I mean, what a battle we parents are having. I mean,
what happened to just going outside and finding a stick and pretending you're a knight and saving, like me and my brother, that we lived on a ranch. That was, we got kicked outside when we were spending too much time on the Super Nintendo. And, but there was a whole world outside to just go and explore.
I live in the suburbs, and we give our kids screen time. They earn it doing chores and schoolwork, and they get 35 minutes at a time and up to twice a day at most. But yeah, we do scouting, but I went to Home Depot and bought a whole bunch of ropes of different sizes and pulleys and poles. And I said, here, build things. Just take it out of the backyard and build things. And I'm like, I want to see a trebuchet so we can assault the neighbor's yard and take over, invade the neighbors. Build me a trebuchet or build me a monkey bridge, whatever. But yeah, part of it is you want to take it away, but these kids are on at school, they're actually required to be on their phones in some cases.
It speaks to the bigger issue. It's not TikTok itself that's the issue. It's how parents are parenting or not, or if they're using these things as a babysitter of sorts, or there's nothing inherently wrong with screen time, but it's with
balanced.
Everything it's balanced. Yeah. And the parents have to be intentional about helping their kids learn that balance. And
in many cases, we parents are in the same boat as the kids. We're on our devices.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, we've all, it's this technology is new to the parents as it is new to the kids.
Yeah. And the tech is designed to be addictive. Literally, it is designed to be addictive. And, so there's the article links to a Boston Children's Hospital Digital Wellness Lab study of adolescence in technology. And I would recommend folks take a look at it. It's very interesting. The number one app that the kids use every day, YouTube. Number 2, TikTok. Number 3, Instagram. Number 4, Snapchat. None of that's surprising to me. They talk about, usage, rules, how often they pick up their phones, the sad thing is on a typical weekday, about what time do you stop using media for the night? 20% is 11 p.m., 12% is midnight, 7% at 1 a.m. This is typical weekday answer. So, whatever we can do to help our kids. These tools are not bad. It's just kids can get around them. But I suppose one thing I do is I tell my kids, this stuff is designed to addict you. This stuff, they hire psychologists and they're trying to game you. I try to make it us against the others, they're trying to use you and manipulate you. Don't let them do that. And that's my hope, is that helps.
Well, and I know some parents who like force all their kids to plug their phones in overnight, like in the kitchen.
Yes, that's what we do.
So they're not sleeping in the same room as their devices and are, on it at all hours of the night. And so it's gotta stay out in the kitchen overnight. And whatever they have a cutoff time of no screens after 9 p.m. or whatever.
Right. I use my Eero. I turn off the internet for the kids' devices at, I think 10:30, 11. I forget what it is I set it to. Like the older teens have different than the younger kids. But it doesn't work so well if they've got cell phones with a phone plan. Only my oldest has a cell phone with a phone plan, and she's pretty responsible with it. So we talk about it. We still have screen time, and they have to request more time and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's a battle. It's sad, but it's a battle.
I'm just remembering in high school having to go to the office to use their phone to call home if something was abnormal. Yeah. And nowadays, just everybody's got cell phones. It doesn't even matter. The school landline.
Well, we had pagers that we would send our kids to school with in case we needed to get hold of them for a doctor appointment, to let them know, okay, we need to get you out of school for a doctor appointment or something. That was a way back then. I
just remember, like, over the loudspeaker, Mr. Bettinelli, report to the principal's office. Mr. Bettinelli, and my mom would be on the phone, and so I can't come at after school, like I said, so just take the bus, that sort of thing. Yep. So, and we survived.
Yeah.
Phones were things that hung on the wall in your house with a wire connected to it. Yeah. So I want to move on to our picks of the week. You said go do those two headlines, and because we're going a bit long this time, I don't want to take too much time. So let's move quickly to our picks of the week. Father Andrew, you're up first. What's your first pick this week?
My pick of the week is very appropriate to our conversation earlier. It's a website called Quizlet. So Quizlet.com. It's essentially a digital flashcards building website. There's more functionality and stuff if you want to pay for it, but the free version, you can create flashcards if you're learning whatever it is you're learning, science definitions, or in my case, I've been using it with Latin. You can use it for language learning. It's really helpful. So rather than handwriting physical flashcards, you can have these digital flashcards. You can use a website. There's a iOS or Android app that you can use, and it works really well. The other nice thing about it too is it's a community-based sort of system that, if you're in a language class, odds are someone has taken that class before and has already created the flashcards for that course. So all you actually have to do is go to that website, search for that course, and you might find someone who's already created all the flashcards for you, and then you can just use their flashcards. Wow. Or you can build your own.
And with the paid solution, they actually have flashcards for textbooks, particular textbooks, built to use with it. So that's actually pretty cool.
Wow.
Too.
Yeah.
When I was in when I was an undergrad, I built a study guide flashcard thing using HyperCard for Apple II for the aerobic circulation biology class. Which I was reminded about. I'm looking at the Quizlet website, and they have that on there. I'm like, wow, I wish I had that then. That was, I spent a lot of time doing it, and actually that helped me learn it. All that time spent building this HyperCard thing, but.
The one downfall that you could argue is that you're not physically writing out the flashcards, and for those that learn better by writing things out, you're lacking that, but you still got the flashcards, and it works really well, for that purpose.
So there's a free version, and then the paid version is $36 a year. So excellent, Pat. What is your pick? We've actually heard a little bit about it already.
Right, and I'm not going to say a whole lot more about it now, but Obsidian, the thing I liked about it from what my clients were telling me was that it was pretty easy to set up and use for just basic stuff, and there was a lot that you could add on to it, that it's multi-platform, and it's local storage. It's not cloud-based like Evernote and some of the others, so you can keep all your stuff local if you want for the free plan, or you can do a subscription add-on that you pay to then sync it up to a cloud. And then I also found a really nice article by somebody who talked exactly how to set it up, how she uses it, all the benefits, and I thought that was an interesting thing. So that link is in the show notes as well.
Yeah, I use Obsidian every day. I keep it's like almost like a wiki, because it links, you can build internal links between notes.
Hyperlinks, yeah.
And I keep I use it sort of as a knowledge base or wiki for StarQuest, all the things, every time I need information, along with a daily diary. I have a work diary where everything I do every day is in there. Like, what shows were posted, what shows were recorded, decisions that were made, discussions that were had, what were the results of it, that sort of thing. So I use it for that. I keep meeting notes and agendas in it, and it's really fantastic. Just a couple more things. You can put the vault, they call it the vault, on like iCloud, and use it between two different Macs, and they have an iOS app that you can use it with. So if you store the vault there, but if you want more sophisticated syncing, you need to use the paid version. But I've been using the free version, which is great. And
one of the things I was concerned about was whether the vault would be a problem if pieces of it were being synced at different times, because I know databases do not do well on the cloud, like Access or Outlook and things like that. So, but you're saying it's safe, that you don't have a problem with that?
Because it's all text files. So even if the text file, if there's a conflict, it just creates a duplicate, and you just got to reconcile the two different text files. But in general, I haven't had an issue with that, so it's been relatively pain-free. In fact, my wife Melanie and I have a shared vault that we use for family stuff. So all the kids' medical stuff, or notes about house things like repairs or anything like that, or serial numbers and the appliance repair guy, all that sort of stuff. We have a separate shared vault that we have for the two of us, that's kept in iCloud that we do, and we haven't had a problem. So that's been really great. And it also has a plugin architecture with tons of free plugins, and it is remarkable what you can do with it once you've added some plugins. It's wild. The
other thing I liked that mentioned that it uses it in a common markdown. Is that the style?
Yep.
So that you don't have the proprietary problem of what happens if the creator goes out of business or whatever, because it's readable by any of the markdown programs.
These are just plain text files. That's all they are. So, at heart. So yeah, even if Obsidian went away tomorrow, you still have all your data in a text file. So it's really great. I really want to do a show about Obsidian at some point, because there's so much more. That article is really great. I took a quick look at it. I hadn't seen it before, but we'll put it in the show notes. And there's tons of great YouTube videos too. There's a wonderful Obsidian community of Obsidian maniacs out there who just love it and are willing to convert other people. They're like Obsidian evangelists. I'm one of them, I suppose. So my pick this week is something I just discovered, and it is an AI-based tool that I think is using ChatGPT. I'm not sure. And I'm just saying right in front, you could probably do this with ChatGPT itself. You could go in and ask it to do this, but this provides an interface. It's free, and what it is, it's called GPT Excel, and you can generate spreadsheet formulas using this plain language. So you can do it for either Excel or Google Sheets. And what you do is you just describe what you want it to do for you. So you can tell it, I want you to remove all of the alphabetical letters from the cell and give me only the numbers, only the numerical digits, or give me a formula that lets me sort first by date and then by some other number or something along those lines. I'm trying to think of examples.
Customer number or
yeah. Like, so for me, Excel sheets, they're so powerful, but I don't know how to make him do what I want. In the past, I Google and I try to figure out and I look at what other people have done and try to adapt it to what I'm trying to do. This will do it for you. Like if I told it, combine two columns into one of text into one text column, that sort of thing. And it would give me the concatenation formula for that. So it's really nice. The trick is you got to know how to describe what it is you want. So there's a little bit of that. There's also one where it's got one option to generate, another option to explain, where if you discover a formula that someone has created, you can paste that in there and it will explain it to you in plain language, what it does. So a way of learning how things work, or just to make sure that it is what people say it is, in a spreadsheet someone gave you. So
especially with AI.
Yes, especially with AI. So it is a fun, easy, free little tool that I just discovered. So hopefully others will enjoy and have some use from it. All right. So that should do it for this time. We would love to hear from you, what you thought of any part of our discussion. You can let us know by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/technology or the StarQuest Facebook page at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia, or send an email to technology@sqpn.com, or visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/Discord, where we're having some great discussions. We're actually having a discussion today about these new chat AIs and whether they are of the devil.
Have a demonic influence.
Yeah, spoilers, they're not. But it was an interesting discussion, and I encourage people to go check it out and see what they think. You can find links from our discussions and picks of the week on our show notes at starquest.fm/TEC207. We would really love it if you would write a review in Apple Podcasts or one of the podcast directories, and share the podcast with your friends to help us grow this community and reach more listeners, especially if you know people who are going off to college or parents of kids going off to college. Share this episode with them, please. Until next time, Pat Scott, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
Thanks for having me on.
Father Andrew Kinstetter, thank you as well.
Absolutely.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest.